Hello and welcome to another episode in our series of Every Superhero Needs a Sidekick, where we as bean counting superheroes need sidekicks or apps to help us in our day-to-day battle against piles of receipts, paperwork and admin. Today we have Liz from the team at Pleo with us, and we're going to be exploring what is Pleo, how can we benefit from using it, and how they might be able to help us keep on top of things like spending in our businesses. Originally, Pleo was a card facility app, a little bit like petty cash, but in a debit card, but they've been under some serious development, and I'm really excited to hear more about what they've been doing. So Liz, let's hear a little bit about you. Who are you, and how long have you been working at Pleo?
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. And really nice to be here. So my name's Liz Sheldon. I look after the UK accounting community for Pleo. I've been at Pleo for the last 2 years, or coming up to anyway. I joined in January 2020. So literally just had a glimpse of pre-nightmarish pandemic before obviously nosediving into all of last year, which was fun. And yeah, my background is quite varied, actually. I've always been very much concerned within relationship building. So always been quite, entrenched within the sales part of the organization, account management, partnerships, strategy, that sort of thing. But actually spread across a variety of different industries, which I've had the pleasure of working within kind of fashion and lifestyle, through to pharma and life sciences, through to content marketing and publishing, and now find myself in fintech. So it's always with the aim to really help and support business leaders with their business challenges. But hopefully I've dipped my toe in the water with a few different people's businesses and sectors today.
Amazing. That sounds really interesting. Let's talk about Pleo. What is Pleo?
So quite simply, as you said, Pleo is a company spending solution. So it means that we've basically enabled and created a product that should be really flexible and should be basically utilized by anyone and everyone within a business. And we've done so by building something that is also with a bunch of different limits and controls and enormous amounts of transparency. So quite simply, it's a Pleo smart card. It's a MasterCard that you can give out to all of your employees. You can tap it at the till, and direct from that point of purchase, that data is kind of pulled through to the main dashboard. At the same time, you can upload that receipt and kind of automate the expense process in real time. So the finance leader then has that visibility over what's been spent and where. And that's also then pushed through to the accounting system as well. So it's what we call like a truly end-to-end solution. It's from point of purchase to the main Pleo dashboard, syncs to the accounting system, enables the accountant to dive in and see that everything's looking tidy. But it's not just expenses. So as I said, it's company spend. It's really that helicopter view over how your business is performing, from normal expenses to kind of petty cash, to mileage tracking, and most recently to purchase invoices and actually the paying of your suppliers as well with those bills. So a lot that we've been working on, especially I'd say in the last 18 months. But yeah, really exciting time to be in this sort of space.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm really interested to hear more about the bill section where you've got the supplier bills and then getting the payments out to them. There's a lot of pain points from our clients where what takes up their time is logging into the bank, setting up every payment run every week. And that'd be really interesting if we can unpack a bit of that in a little while. One thing that I remember speaking to Pleo about in the early days is the fact that you're not necessarily a prepaid card. That's how the facility seems to work. But before anyone switches off, Pleo are not a prepaid solution. You're actually seen as a credit card, right?
Yeah, so we're MasterCard partners. So it means that, of course, the benefits and the capabilities involved with using one of our cards, of course, it's universally, globally accepted, 30 million merchants worldwide. Also, a lot of the security that goes into the kind of infrastructure of it as well. Of course, when we talk in these days and ages, it's, as much about using cool technology, but also where's the kind of trust and security along with it as well. So backed by MasterCard's liability scheme and all that cool stuff. So that's a really important distinction to make. Thanks.
So the reason I want to pick that up is because a lot of our clients will be the CEOs and directors of businesses or their PAs, and they'll be using the card in places like hotel bookings. And hotels love to put like a charge over a card rather than take the money. And a lot of their systems will automatically decline prepaid facilities. Whereas because this is seen as MasterCard or a credit card, they're able to use the card and they don't have that hurdle to try and find another solution around. Because if you have to find a workaround, then you're not going to use the facility. So yeah, that's
totally.
a big thing.
Even simple things like Uber. We were hearing, years ago, people having prepaid cards were being rejected in simple apps like Uber. So again, it's that frictionless experience which we're so passionate about, not just making it, really simple to use, beautiful to use, but also that the kind of UX centricity that goes with it to ensure that no matter where you're spending or what you're buying, you're always empowered to kind of crack on and stay productive.
Cool. So I'm glad we just unpacked that bit a little bit, but let's talk about why we need Pleo. Like, why is it important today? What does it help us do? And specifically, who is Pleo for?
Yeah, quite a lot of questions in that one.
Sorry.
Why do we need Pleo? Well, I think it's interesting that the expenses process, for whatever reason, hasn't massively deviated or changed in the last 25 years, let's say. We're surprised to actually hear that the vast majority of businesses, it's kind of over 60%, are still pretty much using manual processes to track their expenses. And of course, when we think about that traditional process of, you've got a user out on the road spending on a personal Amex, let's say, incurring lots of spend. It could be hundreds, sometimes thousands of pounds spread across a few different months. They then submit and fill out an Excel sheet, usually really sexy. Wait for that kind of sign off and approval, wait for that reimbursement. But that entire process, that duration is really spanning kind of 2, 3, 4 months sometimes. And from a business leader perspective, what you're then looking at is, huge amounts of spend that's being incurred that can have a lot of nasty surprises. We're not just talking question marks on the balance sheet to say, right, so 3 months ago, what was spent and where. It's also that thing around kind of mistrust. And it's the entire process is really misaligned. And I think what we should really be striving for in this day and age, especially, why aren't we looking at real-time data? Why aren't we making decisions based on the real-time reality of how the business is actually performing, rather than something that's cropped up 3, 4, 5 months later? So that's the main thing, is that Pleo, as said, brings everything into the today by tracking everything direct from the point of purchase. It allows business leaders to have that real-time visibility. And I think with real-time visibility comes an awful amount of control. And I think that's another thing, is that Pleo can also be used in a sense of really budgeting. So forecasting, understanding actually how much departments are spending, how much is typically needed to bring a client over the line when it comes to entertainment. All that kind of real rich insight can be so, so powerful. And it's kind of crazy to me that we're not yet quite at that real-time reality just yet. So Pleo kind of helps propel you into the digital, if you like. And I've touched on this before, but who is it for? It's really for anyone and everyone. We've created a product that is flexible, but still with enormous amounts of control. So it means that you can empower, let's say an account executive that's fresh to a business, set their card to just a £100 limit, have that real-time transparency in your dashboard. They can stay productive and you feel trusted that they're empowered to crack on with what they need to do. So it's everyone from that end user through to obviously the finance team feels a lot of ROI and value coming from this product. And of course, from a kind of C-suite perspective, having that helicopter view of who's spending what and where, and really understanding how you can control, but also enable your employees at the same time. So I think the benefits are around that. But equally, as much as we're involved within finance circles, I think more and more we find ourselves speaking with a lot of HR leaders as well, which is also quite interesting. That sense of trust and empowerment that comes with, I think, the democratization of company money means that, in fact, it's a really amazing employee experience. Imagine turning up on your first week and being enabled with your own Pleo card and having that sense of belonging that, I'm trusted, I'm happy to be here. And if needed, I can buy that train ticket if I need to. So it's as much around the finance themes that we talk about and control, but equally around that amazing thing of company culture. And I think conversations around talent is so key in this day and age as well. So it's as much about the employee experience as well as it is for business leaders to control as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Why is Pleo so important to a business now? Why should people be looking at maybe subscribing to this today?
Yeah, so as said, it's I think around the kind of talent retention stuff massively. As said, it's a really excellent way to let employees know that they feel trusted, and that that manual expense process can be so tedious and cumbersome. It's really not a pleasant experience for anyone. We've all been there, I'm sure. But equally, you know, the workplace setup has changed so drastically. Previously, where it would have been very simple to simply walk over to someone's desk and say, hey, can I just borrow that card? I need to pop out and buy some milk. Now is just not the reality. I think we're starting to see people come back to the office, but actually we're more and more seeing that businesses are fully remote and completely decentralized teams split up and down the country, sometimes, you know, elsewhere in Europe. So it's just simply not the case anymore that we can obviously share these company cards, compounded by the fact that there's an awful lot of more security these days. So you'll often obviously purchase something, you'll get the buzz on your phone that you need to put in the two-factor authentication. It's linked with everyone's phones these days. Again, really, really hard to actually share the company cards. So the reality is that the workplace setup has changed so much that we need to now find a solution that can actually enable remote collaboration, remote working to ensure that we obviously stay productive.
Great. I mean, no surprise for somebody like me being an accountant. Accountability is one of those key factors. I would often take on a client where there is the CEO's debit card being used by all manner of people. People got screenshots of it on their phones or on their desktops. Nobody knows who spent that at Amazon. Nobody has the receipt. Nobody owns up to buying that thing that they didn't need because everyone's got access to the card details, and it creates a massive audit headache for someone in our role. So to have your own card and just not share it, and if you need your own card, get yourself a login, have some control on there. That's really great from like a control point of view and an audit point of view. What other tangible benefits can we be looking at here? I think you've got some slides to share with us.
Yeah, I can happily quickly share my screen. We actually conducted some research end of last year to really dig into actually how has Pleo impacted the operations and the running of a business positively? So we actually did a survey with 500 different Pleo admins. So those that were using the product daily, actually using it to control and have that visibility on company spend. And the results are really compelling. You know, it's all very much in that upper quartile in terms of, you know, feeling that the business can be more productive, feeling that they've got that better real-time understanding of how the company money is being spent. And actually, of course, that it's really increased that transparency. So these are some really positive indicators that in terms of, I guess, the more qualitative side of it, can really, you know, enable a greater culture and foster that sort of productivity. But equally, even from, you know, a very pragmatic time-saving perspective. So we surveyed that actually before using Pleo automation, they were spending up to 10 hours a week actually sorting through expenses. And by that, I mean, you know, chasing, going back and forth, playing detective work, asking for missing documentation, trying to figure out how everything's fitting together in order to obviously just export through to their accounting. And then with Pleo, actually now using technology, using automation, they were spending less than an hour a week. So it's insane. And we talk a lot about the kind of cumulative impact, you know, the time wasted can be seen, it's really invisible actually. And it's the huge amounts of invisible costs that are being incurred. And so when we talk about Pleo, it's really about working with a tool that can obviously save you huge amounts of time every week, which of course saves you an awful amount of money. And it's actually a really positive impact to your bottom line.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Is there anything on Pleo that you can show us in terms of a demo so we can see some of this in action?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think it's always a bit nicer and easier to do that as well, just to let the product speak for itself in a sense, because it is really extremely simple, and hopefully that will be clear here. But this might be the user experience, let's say. So you've got, I don't know, an account manager that's out taking a client out for a lunch. So they'll use their Pleo cards at the restaurant. In this instance, we are obviously at the very British Nando's. But in real time, we'll actually nudge them and remind them that as soon as that purchase has been made on the card, they need to be asking for that receipt. They need to be uploading it there and then. So that actually helps capture it's something like 95% basically of all receipts in real time, basically as soon as the card's been enabled. So they just need to click on the Pleo app. It goes straight through to the camera function, snap the photo of the receipt. And here is actually where, a lot of the kind of back end intelligence stuff that we've done to ensure that all of that tracking is pulled through. So in real time, what the user is doing is actually helping to select the tax code. So they're providing you some context as to, what the spend was and why they were spending. So we've actually slimmed it down to say, right, we know that Nando's is probably meals and drinks. The user can then say, okay, maybe fine, I was out with a client at the time. And actually what they've done is selected the tax code in the back end, which they're not knowing. They can also say, fine, I want to track that spend against a particular site or location or a client. So they can actually say, fine, I was taking out this particular person. They can add a little bit of context if needed for the manager, and then that's sent off. So that's the expense process done in real time, if you like. It's meant to be really kind of reflective of just natural organic spending as we do today. And the actual submitting of data takes literally a few seconds. So that might be how you do a normal expense. There might now be another instance where, let's say, you've purchased something that was on your own personal card. And again, you still want to get that reimbursement and track that you've purchased something. So you just need to add a purchase, snap the photo of the receipt, input a little bit of detail about the context and the amount, fill out any relevant detail again as is needed, and again, send that off. So that would then become under the kind of owed to you balance that you need to then send it off for approval. Depending on what the settings are in the back end, again, the admin can actually look over and approve and make sure that you've got the reimbursement. In this particular instance, there might already be some outstanding, charges being incurred. Let's say that you did travel and you were tracking your mileage. So there's about £90 that are owed back to you. You can actually say that you would like to get reimbursed. So it's already been approved. You can actually input your personal bank details. And then we've actually simplified that reimbursement process by ensuring that we can actually send that money direct back to the personal user's bank account, which is really cool. So we've, kind of eliminated the need to wait for the end of month pay run and actually just kind of simplified and streamlined that process even further. So that could be a potential employee experience. And I guess next I can kind of dive into the main Pleo dashboard. So as the finance leader, this is almost your curated view, sorry. So depending on who sits within your team, you can actually dive in and see everything in real time, as said. So see the amount, see the context, see the receipts, everything's captured through here. And you can also communicate through into that user's phone if you do have any particular questions about what was spent. But yeah, what then happens is you can actually empower every single user. So the point with Pleo is that this shouldn't just be a company card that's reserved for upper management. This can in fact be something that you enable anyone and everyone within a business to look at different teams, to have different reviewers, people that are helping to oversee and distribute that sense of responsibility, and also customize the level of notifications that you'd like to get as well. So if you'd like to be, notified as soon as someone spent over £100, or, even when it comes to out of pocket spend as well, you can also do that if you'd like to review them as well. And then, of course, the custom spending limits, which is the really important part. So diving in and saying that, okay, so I want this particular person to only have access to, let's say, £1,000 this month. Again, that's always going to be updated in real time, and the per purchase limits to help further mitigate and enhance that sense of control.
That's brilliant. It's really good to see the point of view of the reviewer as well. So, imagine yourself spending money or claiming money back. That thing, I think, is really easy for us to visualize because we've all done it. But as a reviewer, to be able to see how you can sift through the dashboard there, approve expenses, make sure things have been coded to the right place, or more importantly, communicate back to that member of staff to say, I need more detail. Who was it that you met with, or what was the purpose of that meeting in part of that review process? I think that's really important to give you an even bigger sense of control over that. I've noticed you've got the new bills section on the side there as well. Have we got time to look into that as well today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really exciting, compelling new addition to the Pleo offering. What's really cool as well is that in no way does that alter actually the pricing aspect. So what we've done is kind of broadened the product offering without actually meaning that there's any extra hidden charges and fees to your actual subscription with us. But as I said, we've always really focused on expenses. We've kind of nailed that part. We've now moved into the arena of also purchase invoices and bills. So how do you actually digitize and get that bill into the system? How do you then approve it and have the kind of back and forth to say, yes, I can sign that off and I approve that that took place, through to actually the payment of the supplier. So again, really, truly end to end, and ensuring that there's not kind of a different app that speaks to a tiny element of that life cycle. It's about ensuring we've got it all centralized in that one place. You can dive into Pleo, see all of your expenses, and also help manage your invoices as well. So you'd actually be given your own custom email address. So you can forward all of your bills through to this email address here. You can share that with suppliers, but also with your employees alike. The invoice would then appear in the inbox like so. So we'd extract that data, digitize it, pull out the relevant data, such as, you know, the due date, the amount. You can also split out the VAT if needed. Again, that's a little bit more accounting jargon if it were relevant. We also actually sync with the accounting software, and I think that's really important as well. So ensuring that we maintain that source of truth, so you don't then have to keep dipping in and out of different windows. You can always ensure that the work that you're doing in Pleo, the payment of the invoice, the status of it, will always live reflect whether it's Xero or whether it's QuickBooks that you're using. So yeah, we've obviously digitized it. You can then actually say that you approve it, you want to mark it as ready from an accounting perspective, let's say. You can then actually suggest that payment date. And then, of course, what happens is eventually on that date, let's say, if you want to push it through to the end of the month, you can then, the payment will automatically go out and withdraw from your Pleo wallet. So it means that, of course, yeah, it's helping to centralize everything and ensure that you've got that real kind of forecasting overview of actually the invoices that are due to be paid or have been paid and what the bank balance is really saying when it comes to that.
Amazing. I can't wait to use that feature myself. We're using a lot of software. I'm always getting these emails in my inbox about another subscription is going to go out of your bank account soon, which means I've got now another email I need to go and account for. And there's another feature in there that called Fetch, isn't there? Can you tell us a little bit about how that works?
Yeah, so Fetch is an AI tool that we launched last year. It basically syncs with your Gmail, your Outlook, your Microsoft 365, and again detects as soon as that Pleo card has been spent and as soon as you get that email receipt sent through to your inbox, will actually automatically attach that to the expense on your behalf.
Amazing. So I don't need to do anything.
No, pretty much, yeah. And yeah, we're just constantly trying to automate and take away as much of the menial as possible. And that's very much our ambition, is to constantly iterate, constantly hone and tweak and understand as much as we can about the user experience to ensure it's as beautiful an experience as possible.
So I just want to quickly to cover how we've been using Pleo. And obviously, you know, we're now going to be taking some of this away to use it a lot more. But we've been using this with our clients to invite all the spenders into the system and set their limits, so that the CEOs and the directors have got confidence and control over people spending money and not getting too carried away. We go through and select the accounting codes that they need to be able to select from, so that there's not too much to pick from that isn't relevant for them, and so that they get their tax codings correctly, and it helps keep their choices simpler for the user. We plot weekly cash flow balances, so we're always aware of how much is left in the facility, as well as watching out for those low balance warnings, so that we can keep the facility topped up and nobody is left without money on their card to use. And then we review the receipts in the app and train employees on the detail that's needed, so that over a period of time, people become well versed in the exact detail we need in there from a compliance point of view, and it's pushed straight into the account system. So Liz, thank you so much for demoing this for us today and going through everything that Pleo's been doing. We're really excited to see what else Pleo does in the future. I'm aware a couple of years ago when we were introduced to Pleo, the vision was to have a receiptless or a paperless society where you spend money and it's accounted for, and there is no need for a piece of paper. So really interested in seeing where that gets to. So thank you very much for your time. If anyone wants to know more about Pleo, obviously they can contact us, but what's the best thing to do if they want to come direct to you, Liz?
Yeah, really simply, my email address is liz@pleo.io, so pleo.io. And yeah, hit me up on LinkedIn. Always great to connect and happy to chat and answer any questions.
Brilliant, thank you. So please don't forget to like or share our video. It means a lot to us. Lots of people out there can then benefit from this information, and hopefully they can then empower their accounts processes as well. And if you can, subscribe to the channel. There's a few more videos in this particular series, and there's more efficiency that we can bring to your app stack. So thanks once again, and bye-bye for now.
Thank you, bye.